Well, President-elect Donald Trump continues to staff for the upcoming administration, and someone who is getting a very big job is someone who many of you will be very familiar with. He is Will Scharf. He ran for Attorney General here in Missouri, of course, and now he is set to serve as the White House Staff Secretary. He joins us on KCMO Talk Radio. Will, good morning. Congratulations, and thanks for being back on the show.
Thanks a lot, Pete. Yeah, really exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting down to work and helping President Trump make America great again. So it's been a fun weekend and just kind of drinking from the fire hose at the moment.
Yeah. Well, so Politico describes this job as a low-profile but powerful role controlling the paper flow to the Oval Office. So what exactly does this role entail, and what will you be doing in this role as staff secretary?
So I wouldn't say powerful so much as very important to the smooth functioning of the White House. The staff secretary is basically responsible for paper flow to and from the office of the president. So executive orders, information, things that the president is seeing clear through the staff secretary's office, and then directives that the president gives and things that he wants done. The outflow from the Oval Office flows through the staff secretary's office. So it's a position of incredible responsibility. It's an important position in the sort of setup of the White House. This is a job that, Brett Kavanaugh did for George W. Bush back in the day. On the other side, John Podesta for Bill Clinton in the 1990s. It's truly an honor to get to work closely with President Trump and hopefully help him get the great things done that I think he's going to get done in the years ahead.
Well, when you look at how this team is being assembled, one thing that I think is getting overlooked is the fact that President Trump is putting together a group of folks who are millennials, Gen Zers, a lot of people. You're a millennial yourself, I believe. So you look at this list that he's putting together, and it's a lot of that next generation stuff that you're seeing come together in this Trump administration. How much are you noticing that? How much is that coming up in your conversations with people?
As with, I think, most administrations, there's a mix. There are folks that have been around President Trump for a while. Stephen Miller, I think, is a year or two older than I am, or we're close to the same age. But he's a guy who comes into this with 4 years of Oval Office experience working close to the Oval Office. I'm a little bit newer to the White House. I think some of the other folks that are being brought in will be a little newer. But, a lot of familiar faces. And I think most importantly, there are a lot of people who have worked closely with President Trump before, probably most notably Susie Wiles, our incoming chief of staff. And most of all, I'm just excited to be part of the team. I'm excited to, help get the important work we're going to get done. And just excited to get down to it, although sad to be leaving Missouri for temporarily, but leaving Missouri for sure.
Well, how about that? I mean, I know you obviously wanted to be the next AG here, but not bad to be saying, hey, I get to work in the Trump administration as the staff secretary. I mean, not a bad fallback, right, if the AG spot doesn't work out.
Yeah, it was a great honor to kind of get to do the legal work I did for President Trump, and splitting my time between campaigning and that was a tricky balance. Andrew Bailey obviously, earned the trust of Missouri voters and has done some great things in his time in office. And it wasn't altogether surprising to me by the end that folks just figured it was worth keeping him in there. And it also wasn't surprising to me that, as has been widely reported, he got strong consideration for the position of Attorney General of the United States. I know that a lot of the things that he's done in the last couple of years really turned some heads, and I think in many respects he did Missouri very proud. And I think the fact that so many Missourians are getting pulled into this Trump administration, folks like my colleague John Sauer, who's been announced as President Trump's nominee for Solicitor General, it really speaks highly of the talent bench we have here in Missouri, and I think that's something that all of us as Missourians should be very proud of.
Well, speaking of who he's continuing to staff with, I mean, for a guy who was called a Nazi and Hitler, he's employed a lot of Jews in his camp in his team as well, and you're one of them. So how about that as well?
Yeah, it's one of my Israeli cousins called me and said that I was in her newspaper this morning, which I was pretty excited about. But yeah, this is like the most Jewish, like for a Nazi administration, reportedly Nazi administration. There seems to be an awful lot of Jews hanging around. It's been a funny dynamic from the start, and obviously Stephen Miller, who's probably the closest policy aide to President Trump and has been going back to 2015. He's Jewish as well, and there are a lot of us around. I think it sort of puts paid to the idea that that there's anti-Semitism in the Republican Party or anything like that. It's also worth noting that Jews voted for President Trump by a margin that we haven't seen in recent American history. Some of the estimates are 40-45% of all Jews. And among religious Jews, it's even higher. 70-80% of religious Jews voted for President Trump. So I think it's something of a realignment. I think that the Republican Party is now finding support in a lot of areas where it traditionally didn't, and it shows just how wildly out of whack the left has become in the last couple of years.
Will Scharf is here on KCMO, of course, ran for AG here in Missouri. He is now set to join the Donald Trump administration, and he is going to be the staff secretary. So just take people behind the scenes for a second there, Will. Who will you be working most closely with in this role? Is it Chief of Staff Susie Wiles or somebody else?
Yeah, Susie's the boss. She runs the White House. We all serve the president, but she's the one who's really responsible for running the White House on a day-to-day basis. And I've worked a bit with Susie over the last couple of years. I have just a tremendous amount of respect for her. She's a consummate professional. I couldn't say enough good things about her being picked to be Chief of Staff, and I'm looking forward to getting to work with her. Bill McGinley, who was a lawyer who did incredible work on election integrity throughout this election cycle with the RNC and other aspects of the Republican operation. Bill McGinley's been named White House counsel. I'm really looking forward to working with him. And then Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. He's calling him a key member of the team, I think understates his importance, but really looking forward to working with him as well. And, as the rest of the team is rolled out in the coming days and weeks, I'm sure there will be more familiar names, and I'm just excited to get down to it.
Well, once again, congratulations, Will Scharf. We appreciate you being here on KCMO. Would love to continue to keep in touch. And since you're now in control of what memos the president gets to read, maybe you can pass on how great we're doing here on KCMO thanks to appearances like yours, and maybe we'll talk to him at some point down the line.
Well, I've always loved coming on with you, Pete. Appreciate everything. As I said before, I'm really sad to be leaving Missouri. I'm keeping my house here, but I'll be relocating primarily to D.C. And I'm really sad that I won't be seeing so many of my friends here in Missouri, whether it's in St. Louis or Kansas City or down in Springfield and everywhere in between, in the next couple of years. But hoping to get back to Missouri, before too long. It's a little bittersweet in that respect, but I appreciate everything that you do. I know you have a massive voice in your region with good reason, and hopefully we Missourians who are going into the administration will do the state proud.
Yeah, well, I know Missouri and Kansas will be rooting for you, Will, and thank you as always for the time, and we'll be in touch, my friend. Have a great day, and good luck with the transition.
Thanks a lot, Pete. Really appreciate it.
All right, Will Scharf on KCMO Talk Radio. Well done. That's what I need him to get the memo of this show. By the way, good luck with the transition takes on a whole new meaning these days, but I meant like the transition to the new administration is what I was going for there. On NPR, that means something completely different.
Yep.
When you say good luck on the transition, but we're not national panhandler radio, so that's not what I meant. But that's great. I mean, you've got Attorney General Andrew Bailey, who you heard Will Scharf confirm there, which I told you last week he was one of the finalists for the AG spot. Ultimately is going to, at least for now, Matt Gaetz. We'll see how that plays out. And Will Scharf, who was in the studio many times, is now going to be the White House staff secretary. So who knows how that will lead from here on out, but I think that's a great pick, and he's a good guy and will do a darn good job in that role.